It was a quiet California morning in 1990 when a fisherman spotted something floating near the bank of a river. What he thought was driftwood turned out to be human remains. The discovery was horrifying. A man, brutally dismembered, scattered in a way that seemed calculated to erase his identity. But the body would soon have a name and a story. Investigators would trace the gruesome trail back to a man with a past steeped in violence and crime. Danny Ray Horning. 6 months later, Horning wasn't found hiding in a remote shack or laying low in some dusty border town. He was caught mid-crime, holding up an Arizona bank with cold precision. The arrest seemed like the end of the road. He was tried, convicted, and sentenced to life in prison. But the case was far from over. Because Horning wasn't the kind of man to sit quietly behind bars. What came next would shake law enforcement to its core. A daring escape, a relentless FBI manhunt spanning the vast wilderness of the American West, and a deadly game of cat and mouse that would push agents to their limits. It would become one of the most talked-about fugitive chases of the 1990s. This is the chilling story of a murder, a man who refused to be caught, and the officers who risked everything to bring him down. Before we begin, if you're passionate about gripping true crime stories told with detail, atmosphere, and the full weight of their drama, make sure to subscribe, share this video, like, and comment below with your thoughts. Your support helps us keep bringing you these in-depth cases from the shadows of history. The Yolo Bypass in California is a stretch of wetland that, on most days, is quiet enough for you to hear the buzz of dragonflies. But in the summer of 1990, it became a crime scene. A fisherman named Carl Jensen was casting for bass near the bank when his line snagged something heavy. At first, he cursed under his breath, thinking it was a log. But when he pulled it closer, his heart stopped. The log had skin. "Dear God," he whispered, dropping the line. The sheriff's deputies who arrived soon realized this wasn't just a body. It was part of a body. The rest had been disposed of elsewhere. The pieces scattered like someone wanted them gone forever. The victim would eventually be identified as John McCormick, a man with quiet roots and few enemies, which made the brutality even harder to comprehend. Detective Marla Henson, who was assigned to the case, later said, "I'd worked homicide for 7 years, but this was different. Whoever did this, they didn't just want him dead. They wanted him erased." The evidence trail was faint, but witnesses placed McCormick last in the company of one man, Danny Ray Horning. Horning wasn't a mystery to law enforcement. Born in 1959, he grew up in rural California, but any resemblance to a small-town boy next door faded quickly. He was a troublemaker by adolescence, a career criminal by his 30s. Robberies, thefts, assaults. His rap sheet read like a slow climb toward something darker. When detectives brought his name into the investigation, there was a mix of interest and unease. One deputy recalled, "Danny wasn't stupid. He was the kind of guy who'd study you, size you up before he made a move." By the time a warrant went out, Horning was already gone. For 6 months there was nothing. No sightings, no trail, until June 1991. June in Flagstaff, Arizona, can be deceptively calm. The mountain town is filled with pine-scented air and the slow hum of traffic. That day, the peace broke with a sharp command. "Nobody move. Hands where I can see them." It was mid-morning at the Arizona Bank and Trust when a man wearing a baseball cap and dark glasses pulled a handgun. Witnesses said his voice was steady, almost calm, as though he'd done this before. He moved with precision, directing tellers to fill a bag, ordering customers to the floor. But the calm cracked when an off-duty police officer happened to walk in. The officer froze for a split second, then reached for his weapon. Horning turned, gun raised. And that's when a customer screamed. Chaos erupted, and in the scramble, the officer tackled him. When they got him into cuffs and pulled off the cap, the name dropped like a stone. Danny Ray Horning. Back in California, prosecutors wasted no time. The murder charge was heavy, but with the bank robbery tacked on, Horning's fate was sealed. The trial was tense, with graphic details of the McCormick murder and the cold efficiency of the robbery painting a picture of a man with no boundaries. The jury deliberated less than a day. Life in prison. Horning didn't flinch when the sentence was read. Instead, he glanced at the gallery and gave a slow, thin smile, like a man who knew something no one else did. Florence State Prison, Arizona. May 1992. Most inmates count the days. Horning was counting opportunities. At 4:30 p.m., while other prisoners were being moved for evening meals, Horning made his move. It wasn't a chaotic dash for the gates. It was a methodical escape. He'd studied guard routines, memorized blind spots, and knew exactly when and where the tower's line of sight faltered. When the head count came up one short, it took seconds for the alarm to sound. By then, Horning was already beyond the perimeter fence, swallowed by the desert. Sheriff's Deputy Tom Wallace later said, "He didn't just escape, he vanished. It's like he'd rehearsed it in his head 100 times." The FBI was called in within hours. Agents fanned out across Arizona, checkpoints sprouted along highways, and wanted posters went up in gas stations and diners. The American West is vast, with mountains, canyons, and forests that can hide a man indefinitely if he knows how to move. Horning knew. He was a survivalist, Agent Rick Masters explained. He could disappear into the brush for days. That's what made him dangerous. Not just his willingness to kill, but his ability to stay gone. Sightings began to trickle in. A rancher in Payson swore he'd seen Horning at dawn, filling water jugs from a creek. 2 days later, a family hiking near Sedona reported a man watching them from a ridge, then vanishing into the trees. The tension for agents was constant. Every time the radio crackled, you wondered if this was the one, Masters recalled. July 1992. Mogollon Rim, Arizona. FBI agents tracked Horning to a remote hunting cabin. They moved in at night, flashlights cutting through the dark. Inside they found fresh food wrappers, maps, and a still warm cup of coffee, but no Horning. "He was probably watching us from the trees," one agent admitted bitterly. In another incident, Horning carjacked a pickup from a couple on a back road. "He didn't yell," the husband later told reporters. "He just pointed the gun and said, 'Keys. Now.' Then he was gone." These encounters painted a chilling picture. Horning was always one step ahead, always watching, always calculating. August 1992. Winslow, Arizona. After 3 months of near misses, a tip came in from a store clerk who'd seen a disheveled man buying canned food and a box of .22 ammunition. The clerk recognized him from a wanted poster. The FBI and local deputies converged on the outskirts of town. At dusk they spotted him, walking along a dirt road, rifle slung over his shoulder. "Danny Ray Horning. Drop it!" An agent shouted. Horning froze, then looked over his shoulder. For a moment it seemed he might run again. But something shifted. He dropped the rifle, raised his hands, and allowed himself to be cuffed without a word. Horning was returned to custody under maximum security conditions. This time there would be no second escape. The manhunt had cost hundreds of thousands of dollars and consumed the summer of 1992 for Arizona law enforcement. For the McCormick family, there was no real closure, only the knowledge that the man who'd taken their loved one would never walk free again. Detective Henson summed it up best. "He wasn't just a killer, he was a ghost in the desert. And ghosts don't like to be caught." And that's the story of Danny Ray Horning. From a brutal murder in California, to a tense Arizona bank robbery, to one of the most relentless manhunts in the West. If you've stayed with us until now, thank you for watching. If this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, And keep watching for more gripping true crime cases told in full detail. For our returning viewers, your support means the world. Don't forget to like, share, and drop your thoughts in the comments below.